how much right now do you think you control your aging biology? The dark side of stress, chronic toxic stress, and how that impacts our cellular aging. To slow your aging, but if you're not paying attention to your social, emotional world, you are missing one of the biggest factors. Joy is biologically active as well, and really important in we believe in rate of aging.
Dr. Elissa Epel. She is going to talk on mental health and cellular aging. And as I said, we will have like a 3 rapid fire questions at the end of the session. Dr. Epel is an international expert on stress, well-being, and optimal aging, and best-selling author of The Telomere Effect and Now the Stress Prescription. So please give a big round of applause to Dr. Elissa Epel, and can we have Elissa on the stage?
I enjoy being without shoes, feeling more connected to the earth. I'm so excited about the community that Pankaj and Sam are cultivating, mixing and integrating smart business, technology, and heartfulness. So I really appreciated the heartfulness meditation, and that is the basis of my almost 30 years studying the mind-body connection. So I do research full-time at UCSF, the medical school, and the question for me is how can we understand how this ancient body that we've inherited is wired so that we can have awareness of how the mechanisms of the mind-body connection work and how we can live our best lives and promote healthy longevity. My question to you is how much right now do you think you control your aging biology? How fast do you age? How much do you think it's determined on day 1 of your birth, genetically, versus how much what you do each day matters? And I'm going to review a few pieces of evidence showing the parts we don't have control over that truly are determined on day 1 of birth. And then the vast amount of variance that we do have control over 50%. If you've made it this far in life and you don't have any particular dramatic genes, it's really about what you do each day and how that is communicating messages to your cells to either speed up or slow down your aging. So I've been studying how our cells age. If we just with a simple blood draw can understand our status, our biological aging. This really goes back to Dr. Michael Roizen's real age. So, of course, the chronological clock is one of the most predictive factors of how long we live. But underlying that, the reason is because it's about our biological age, our real age. So how do we age? When we look at cellular aging, we know that some of us age faster than others. Some of us age in dog years, so faster than the clock. And some of us defy that and age more slowly. And so while a small amount is genetics, a large amount of this biological aging is actually regulated and controlled by our mind states. How much stress we carry each day. And it's a little more complex than that. I've been studying the dark side of stress, chronic toxic stress, and how that impacts our cellular aging. And so we kind of have stress is a bad rap. I've contributed to that. We think like avoid stress, but actually stress is pretty complex. And what I'm going to show you is that we need and want the right types of stress for our healthy aging. So it's aging biology that we want to focus on more than age. There are emerging metrics that we can be tracking. I focus on these 4 metrics that are exploding in the scientific literature, and they are at our fingertips with a simple blood draw. And so here you see blood cells, immune cells, inflammation, which we call inflam aging, You see the blue creature on the bottom, the mitochondria. This is where a lot of my research efforts are focused these days, because our mitochondria are the battery inside each cell that creates ATP or energy. Turns out this is an exquisitely sensitive organelle to our mind states, to our stress levels, our emotional states. We published the first study recently showing that chronic stress, being a caregiver, is related to impaired levels of mitochondrial enzymes. But the good news is that was just a statistical prediction on whether you're a caregiver or you have a lower stress life. But actually it turns out to be mediated by our daily mood, our daily positive and negative affect. So having a lot of positive emotion by the end of the day is a really good sign that despite the stresses of the day, we are actually able to enter sleep in a positive physiological mind-body state. The other marker there, the orange tips at the ends of the chromosomes, are telomeres. I started studying these about 20 years ago with Elizabeth Blackburn, and we wrote everything we know about it in The Telomere Effect, a book that is still, I believe we wouldn't correct anything in it if we republished it tomorrow. It shows lifestyle factors and stress impact our telomeres. The more sturdy they are, the more longevity the cells have to keep replicating. And then lastly, you see the DNA strand. We've been studying epigenetics. And the epigenetics, we can't change our genes, but we can change the pattern of the methylation bonds on our genes. They're kind of like doors that open and close access to turning on genes. They determine which genes are activated. So these epigenetic patterns, again, are tied to our lifestyle and our psychological stress. So we've been studying all of these, and we and others have shown certain types of stress send clear, strong messages to these aging clocks. One is early childhood adversity. Another is having states of chronic depression and anxiety. And I say that lightly now because it's so common to have poor mental health. We live in an era of existential stress. Our youth have a mental health epidemic. And so what we want to be focusing on is not pathologizing these states of distress, but rather focusing on what can we do about this in the moment, in the day. And so during the pandemic, I wrote a book called The Stress Prescription, and it has techniques that basically change our stress level within minutes. They're shown well with research. It's not rocket science. You can do them on your own. Yes, it helps to have an app. It helps to have digital reminders. But these are, very, very basic mind-body connections. And so although the book was really focused on stress and people grab it because they feel stressed, it is an anti-aging book. It is about lowering our level of feelings of stress for different moments in the day. So, as I said, apps can help, but waking up is a reminder, and going to bed. The bookends are when we really want to target our stress levels, calibrates our day. So in the field of aging, we now focus on aging biology as the target. If we want to reduce disease incidence, we don't want to wait till it's too late and try to reverse diseases. Most of them are not curable, but rather to slow biological aging. And that can start early in life, in fact, during pregnancy. So we want to suppress and delay and compress morbidity toward the end of life. And as I said, one of the most controllable factors for our biological aging is how we spend our day, what we put in our mouth, how much we move, and how we feel. And we cannot overemphasize it. You could be doing all the health behaviors and hacks and spending a lot on your aging to slow your aging, but if you're not paying attention to your social, emotional world, you are missing one of the biggest factors that regulates how our cells age. So the stress response protects us from infections, from danger. There's an exquisite biology in the acute stress response that we need, that we want to have. And the stress response wears out as we age. We get a sluggish stress response that doesn't turn off. So we want to have a big peak and a big recovery. And when you look at that lower line, you can see that there is a stress response, and they recover more quickly. And it's the recovery that I want you to focus on. So right now, just checking in with your body. I'd like you to rate how stressed you feel on a 1 through 10 scale. Just closing your eyes and asking honestly, what are you holding on to? Are you at a level of some tenseness, some vigilance? Are you at a state of true relaxation, where you're actually feeling completely receptive and focused, at peace? I loved the Heartfulness meditation focusing on love and light. The most fundamental message, really, for our mind to send to ourselves that we are safe. So when we think about how do we let go when we don't have to be vigilant and stressed, one of the questions to ask yourself is, what are you holding on to right now? What in your life do you carry around, worrying about or trying to change, even though you can't change? A situation that may be unwanted, that is taking up mental real estate. And we all have some of these. And when we can recognize them, we can think of it as like pulling on a rope that's connected to a brick wall, and then just saying, I can drop the rope. So during the day, that heartfulness meditation is a way to drop the rope and actually send messages to ourselves that we're safe. So this is a simple way of viewing the mind-body connection. And it's not that when you look at this, you think, oh, we want to get down to blue mind states and to rest, and that's the goal, and to stay away from stress. And it's absolutely not the case. I use my biosensor a lot, Aura Ring, which tells me the level of my nervous system. And we use this for research, and it's an exquisite tool to tell us how much someone is staying vigilant during sleep, for example, versus letting down. I should say I'm a medical advisor to Aura, so I have a conflict of interest, but I think these biosensors in general are an amazing tool for the awareness we need each day to drop the rope. So here you see that when we want to feel, when we want a good stress response, we typically feel under threat. We need to motivate ourselves and create energy, and that's healthy. We want short-term acute stress. The problem is that we're in yellow mind state often. We hold on to stress, and we stay vigilant. So I end up a chronic, subclinical state of moderate threat. That is what we want to tackle. So we can work on that in this moment just by slowing our breathing, refocusing on our heart. And so we also are missing green and blue mind states, true rest and deep rest. Deep rest is a biological, rare state. Unless you're doing mind-body practices and slowing breathing and lying down during the day, yoga nidra, you are probably not getting much deep rest during the day. And deep rest during the day, in our research, predicts deep rest at night, more heart rate variability or vagal tone during deep sleep. So we are very excited to be reintroducing the science of deep rest, meaning this is a fundamental concept of wellness from, deep thousands of years ago, from yoga ideology, from cosmologies, from most ancient traditions about the importance of ritual and group practices that are relaxing, as well as the, dance and ecstatic dance. So in the science of aging and prevention of aging, we want to focus on that. Acute stress and avoiding the toxic stress and getting more deep rest. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger in terms of acute stress. And in terms of types of psychological stress, we want to, have a positive mentality about stress, of challenge instead of feeling threatened. And that can help us have that acute stress and complete recovery. Hot and cold are also important for that acute stress response. Here we've been studying Wim Hof method. We're about to publish a paper showing it's as effective as exercise for really dampening down on anxiety, depression, stress. Sauna literature is very strong, showing you can do hyperthermia as well to help with depression, to help with mental health, as well as cellular aging. And so a question to ask yourself is how much vitality you feel. When in your life do you feel vitality? That positive energy that is really something that comes with good mitochondria, which makes energy. So indirectly, the state of our ATP helps us feel vital as we age. And so it's up to us to kind of monitor that diet. In terms of deep rest states, we just published this review with the question of why is it that so many contemplative practices, when we compare them in research head to head, they're not different. They all work. The common underlying aspects of these mind-body practices are feeling safe. You have to have social safety to allow your body a deep rest state. Slowing the breathing, regular and rhythmic. And then what we're offering here and putting together is 50 years of research on stress and now stress reduction, showing that the cellular biology is tied into these deep rest states. When we look at gene expression during meditation, for example, and during yoga studies, we are improving the cellular aging machinery, mitochondria, telomerase, reducing oxidative stress. So this is a simple way to think about, well, we know a lot about the stress cell. There's a lot of oxidative stress, there's yellow stars, there's a lot of withering of the mitochondria, they dampen and get old more quickly and damaged, and the telomere shorten. But when you look at the rested cell, you really see the opposite. So rather than just trying to reduce the harms and improve mental health, we really want to focus on deep rest and positive emotion and joy. Anyone heard of Deepak Chopra? He's done a great job promoting some types of mind-body practices like mantra meditation. We studied this for a week at his resort, looked at the gene expression, showed that there were dramatic changes in the rejuvenation of the cellular aging mechanisms in the people who came and meditated for a week. But the exact same pattern was in our control group, the people who just came to the resort all week but had no meditation. So then we followed them and found that 10 months later, the group that learned meditation had a maintenance of their improvement in anxiety, depression, mindfulness. This is that purple line is showing that if you go to a resort, you're going to improve your health in the short run, but over the long run, unless you're doing something that is learning how to cope with stress in the long run, some mind training like meditation, you're going to bounce right back up to high daily stress and depression. I wanted to point out a very big trend now, which is joy. You even hear it in the campaign speeches, and it's a huge magnet. And it's something we've ignored, and we just focus on disease and stress, and actually joy is biologically active as well, and really important in we believe in rate of aging. So this is a great film by His Holiness Dalai Lama, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Follows their story of how they're living with so much adversity in their countries and being exiled, and yet they feel such deep purpose, love, joy. And so these go together, and this is certainly the story of our lives today, living with seeing so much suffering, and yet we can also pay attention to and see the joy in front of us. So we've developed a platform that His Holiness said, I love the film, I hope people see it, but what I really hope is people learn about the science of happiness. Because the science of happiness reinforces the message of many ancient traditions. To be happy, rather than pursuing your own happiness, one of the more direct paths, or effective paths, is making others happy, helping others. It's the pro-sociality that we're born with. And so in our Big Joy Project, we have roughly 5-minute exercises each day for 7 days. It's a free app supported by this Joy campaign. And you can see we have almost 100,000 people who have joined it. I hope you'll join it. I'm going to tell you the results before you join it. Might bias your results. We found that just by focusing on one of these joy practices for a few minutes each day, at the end of the week, we find people feel better sleep quality, better perceived health, a measure which actually predicts mortality, and increases in emotional well-being, feelings of connection, love, feeling purpose, and positive emotion. And so this is quite amazing to see that such small nudges, just a few minutes a day, can have this impact that builds up. So now we're going to put Oura rings on people, study this in a bigger way, look at, see what else we can learn. But in general, this is on the map. It's also in the stress prescription. Waking up and just thinking about what you're grateful for is one of the practices that we know is powerful when we compare all the different practices. Summarize with some practices that are just fundamental ways to reduce our perceived stress. And I have some recent papers that just came out this month in JAMA showing that our epigenetic aging is shaped in part by our early childhood stress, feelings of stress, but also many of the health behaviors that we control each day. So for example, nutrition. We have found that if you are eating the nutrients that support DNA repair, so that's the antioxidant and anti-inflammatory nutrients, vitamins, minerals, flavonoids, fiber. So these are the chemicals in plant pigments. These are related to a younger epigenetic age. And then eating the more grams of sugar, added refined sugar, the faster the epigenetic aging. So this is an easy way to think about this is follow the rainbow, is to choose as you're shopping different colors, that's different flavonoids and different vitamins and minerals. So this is one pathway we know works with epigenetic aging. The early stress is shifting people toward a Western fast food diet, and that is accelerating their biological aging. This was a study we did actually in the East Bay for the past 30 years. We've been following girls who are now moms, and they have offspring, and they have kids. And so we're looking at nutrition or epigenetic aging and stress. And so stress and nutrition are really very tied up with each other. And so those are mutually reinforcing when we seek and have a rich, high nutrient diet with all the micronutrients, 30 broad spectrum vitamins and minerals. We actually feel emotionally better and are more stress resilient to future traumas. So there's some beautiful research on that. And of course, when we feel grounded and calm, we can make our food choices less impulsively. So in terms of these fundamental stress reduction strategies, we want to embrace the stress that we all inevitably face in daily life with a positive mentality of challenge stress, of my body can take this, I can recover, I can do slow breathing. All sorts of positive mantras really matter. We've been studying positive mindsets now with the immune system, vaccination response, I can tell you more about. But mindsets are so important to remember that our body loves acute positive stress and that we can break up chronic stress with deep rest states. We can metabolize acute stress with both quick stressors to our body, either exercise or hot and cold. We want to notice when we're holding on to stress and drop the rope. And then lastly, think about how can you build in deep rest states. Maybe not into your day, but into your week. Can you add a session of sound bath or come here for heart-based meditation and yoga? Doing it with a community is so important. I would love to just do yoga at home and not get in my car, and I know it doesn't happen based on history. So I drive to a sangha, a regular class where I have a dramatic shift in my nervous system, even though it's a few times a week. And I know that, of course, because I monitor. Okay, so I would love any questions. I welcome you to my website where I have all of my scientific papers published right there. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jyoti Ved, and I'm a big fan of Dr. Epel, and I've been listening to all of her podcasts, and here's the book. If you haven't quite read that yet, please make sure you do. It's sort of the Bible and must read if you want to understand cellular aging. So my first question is the title of the book. What is a telomere? And how do you understand it? What's the impact? And how can you change?
Yes, great question. Telomeres represent such fundamental molecular biology in every cell in our body. We all have these telomeres. We didn't know it. And knowing how they work and how sensitive they are, it's actually been very effective for people who've read that book and they think of their telomeres as they try to get motivated to, get on their bike or go to the gym. So telomeres are these protective caps at the ends of the chromosomes that are really sensitive to the level of stress in the cell. So they're listening to the tone of the cellular environment. Is it safe? Is there a threat? And so telomerase is an enzyme that can repair the telomeres and lengthen them again. And telomerase is dampened down by chronic stress, trauma, smoking. And so it's this enzyme on a daily basis that we can foster. In our Deepak Chopra meditation study, we found that for regular meditators, the week at the meditation retreat caused a significant boost in this intracellular enzyme. As well as for everyone, they were activating telomere maintenance genes during their week of relaxation. So we want to think about sturdy telomeres. When they get too short, the cell can't divide. It becomes senescent and old and inflammatory. And we also know that telomeres are incommunicado with the mitochondria. So they're really sending signals that when the telomeres are sending signals of there's too much stress here, damage signals go to the mitochondria and it impairs the mitochondria and vice versa.
It's very important to watch for that. How do we measure it on a regular day-to-day basis?
We can't. So it's important to know that this is a long-term tracker. And telomeres through the lifespan predict our health span. So they predict how early we get different diseases of aging. And this has been shown in, so many countries and replicated with meta-analyses. And it would be beautiful if there was a drug or a pill that would safely increase our telomerase, but that can also increase cancer risk. So we really need to leave it to mindset and lifestyle for healthy telomere maintenance.
One more question. We don't have too much time. Can I just ask one? So during the pandemic, we all heard a lot about vaccinations and the effects of that. Did you? I heard you did a lot of study on that.
Yes, thank you for asking about that. Who here is planning on getting a vaccination in the next month? I sure am, when the new vaccinations come out. Of course, it's a personal choice, but we've been studying COVID vaccinations and looking at how much stress and mindsets are predicting a good, robust vaccination response 6 months later. So we're measuring antibody responses. And so we have a sample of over 500 people from the Bay Area, and we got their mindsets and their blood before they got their first vaccination and their second and their booster. And so we've learned a lot. We know that age is a tough one, right? Our immune system becomes so much less efficient as we age. With the Moderna vaccination, age didn't matter. So effective. Age equalizer. And BMI suppressed the response. What we're now finding when we look at stress is that acute daily stress on the day around vaccination promotes better antibody response. So there's a positive stress. Yes, we want to relax, but it's the acute feelings of being activated and engaged that we think are helpful for the short-term immune response. On the other hand, chronic stress and depression were related to lower antibody response, both at 1 month and in the long run. So again, we're seeing kind of the acute versus chronic stress difference. And then lastly, in a paper that just came out in the last few days, we measured what are your beliefs about this vaccination? Do you think that the vaccination is going to work? It's going to help you? So, do you believe in it is important. And people who believed in it had much less stress, sadness, anxiety, fewer physical symptoms around the vaccination. So pump yourself up, be excited to take it. But what was more interesting is we asked, do you think the side effects are harmful and it means something wrong, or do you think that they're good for you? And so what we found is that if you have a positive view of side effects, the vaccination is working, you get a more robust antibody response 6 months later. And then we also use the Oura rings. And right after the vaccination, some of you felt feverish and sick and for days thought, probably like, I wish my body was more robust. Turns out that big, fierce immune response and all the sickness symptoms is a strong predictor of a better long-term vaccination response. So both believing the side effects are good and having lots of side effects, both are great signs for the immune system. Yes?
So thank you so much, Dr. Epel.